for the critics, my words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. I believe we can write our story.
Hello, everyone out there listening to the sound of my voice. It's Gary here, Gary Wise, Wise Leadership Solutions. And this is the first episode for season 2, Words from the Wise. Super excited to have closed out season 1. It was a great first chapter, but this next season is going to be awesome. I've got a bunch of guests lined up, all through from across my military career. And today, the first guest for season 2, I've got a special person here today. This gentleman served with me on board the USS George Washington, CVN 73 out of Yokosuka, Japan. He was my department LCPO. He was my master chief. He had to deal with the young, fired up Senior Chief Wise at the time. And I'm looking forward to having a great conversation. He is known as Master P, Mikey P, Mr. Mike Piazza. So, Mike, welcome to the show. How you doing, bro?
Fine. How you making out, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for joining me on the show, man.
That's a pleasure. It really is. It's a pleasure.
Hey, brother, I am, so we were just talking real briefly before we came online, and you're currently in Virginia Beach, right?
Virginia Beach, Va Beach.
So just when you were a kid, because you grew up in Jersey, right?
I grew up in Jersey, yeah.
All right, so Mike Piazza from Jersey. What part of Jersey were you from?
I'm from a small town in Passaic County, northern New Jersey, called Haskell.
Haskell, New Jersey.
Matter of fact, we don't even have our own police department. We had to utilize Wanaku's police department.
Oh, wow. Okay. And you were born there, like born and raised in that part?
I was born in Patterson, New Jersey, about 30 minutes away. And I went to grammar school in Haskell. And then I went to Passaic County Tech. And I graduated there in that would have been June 17th of '85, and went in the Navy 8 days later. Yeah.
So, well, hold on. Before I get to that part, real quick, Piazza, right? So it's an Italian last name.
That's Italian. Yep.
That's Italian. Did you have a lot of family in Jersey, or was your family kind of alone up there? Or?
No, we had a big family up there. I had a sister and a brother, and mom and dad. But it was kind of ironic. It's funny you bring that up because our street, we had our grandmother and grandfather living downstairs. We had a 2-bedroom house. Across the street was my aunt, uncle, and my cousin, and next door to us was my aunt, uncle, and cousin as well. So that was like our street,
Wow.
And
That's
it goes
cool.
back, it goes back years when my grandfather, Ellis Island came from Sicily back around 1890 or so.
Okay.
And settled over there, yeah.
Wow. So what was it like growing up in Jersey in like the 60, 70 era? I mean, as a kid.
Okay, not 60s there, okay? I'm not that old, man, all right? 70s, 70s was fun. I mean, it's like anywhere else, right? There's no technology back then. We had our bicycles and later on skateboards. I never messed with that. A lot of fishing, right?
Okay.
Some hunting. And that's really about snowball fights in the wintertime, building igloos in the winter.
So there's really some good hometown USA upbringing.
Oh, yeah.
In that part of Jersey.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, it was straight up your traditional, you better be home for dinner and all that other stuff. And when the lights go on, you go home and all that stuff. So.
Okay, so what caused you then, as you were getting towards the end of your high school experience, to think, hey, I'm going to up and go join the world's greatest Navy and get the heck out of Jersey?
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I actually wanted to join when I was 13.
Okay.
And, when I was 12 years old, I used to write Navy in my notebooks and stuff like that. And what really got me going was, remember the stickers back then? It's not just a job, it's an adventure.
Yeah.
And now it's the sayings kind of changed, but that really, maybe it was a calling, I guess. So when I was 13, I was like, hey, Dad, it was a recruiting station. He goes, well, you're young, you got time.
Yeah.
And that went on, that carried on for several years up until I was 17, and my mom said, "Hey, your dad's thinking about driving down there if you want." And I did. He dropped me off, and we went in there together. And before you know it, I'm in the late entry program for a year. Yeah, I actually joined. It was July of '84, so I was in there about 11 months or so in the DEP program. And the DEP program is really good nowadays. The way
Yeah.
back then, not so much. You know.
So you
Yeah.
were in the Greenwich program as a high school senior,
Yeah.
waiting to ship out.
Oh yeah, I had Navy stickers on my locker and everything. And I'm like, I'm ready to go.
Ready to go. Okay. So did you know when you first got in the delayed entry program what your job was going to be when you shipped out? Did you already know what you wanted to do in the Navy?
You know what? I came in as a BT.
Okay.
BT. All right.
Yeah.
I bounced out of BTA school. I didn't get it. You know, the terminology, I wasn't getting it. So went out to the fleet. I really wanted to be an MR because I went to Votech, and I had machine shop for 2.5 years, and I was really good at it. But I scored real high in the ASVAB, like 83. But they take that science and math, and I totally stunk at math. I still do. So you had to have like 103. I had like 9. You're like, no MR for you. So I came
Yeah.
in as an engineman, and it worked out well. It worked out well for me.
Okay, so for everyone listening to us, Mike, he said BT at first. That was a boiler technician,
Yeah.
and which is something I essentially was my first ship as well. I worked on the boiler. I stood watch on the boiler in the main propulsion plant. And then when I first joined the Navy, they merged that rating with the MMs. And at that point, a lot of BTs were cross rating to other rates like engine men as well. But it sounds like Mike went to school and just didn't work out for him there. And so he got pushed out to the fleet. And then he wanted to be an MR, which is a machinery repairman.
Yeah.
That person is another part of the engineering field, part of the repair division side. And they manufacture all kinds of repair parts on the ships. Okay, so you were in engineering no matter what, it sounds like. And like you came in as a fireman.
Oh yeah. No matter fact, I'm going definitely engineering. Yeah.
Okay, so when you got through, finally you got to did you go to ENA school eventually?
I went to C school. They sent me to C school.
So hold on, before you got to C school, did you have to go to a ship first?
Yes, I went to the USS Newport, LST 1179.
LST. So that is the kind of, it's an amphib, it's an L deck, right? So it's a troop transport ship, and it's the kind that has the loading dock on the bow.
Exactly, the bow ramp. Yep.
Now, for that bow ramp, was that an A gang responsibility? Like, did they lower and raise that, or is that deck?
No, that was A gang. A gang worked with deck on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I never. Those ships were gone before I got there.
Well, what was the San Bernardino there in Sasebo when you were there?
No.
Oh, sure, he left. Yeah, I was on the San Bernardino. Yeah, they're long gone. They're long. They went actually. Most of them went to foreign navies. I think the Newport went to like the Mexican Navy. Yeah.
So your first ship was USS Newport, and you go there. And first, where's that ship located?
It was in Little Creek, over here in
Little
Virginia.
Creek, Virginia. So you went to Virginia Beach, essentially, your first ship.
Yep.
Okay. And did you like Virginia Beach?
Oh, I had a blast.
Yeah.
I had an absolute blast. Yeah. A lot of good camaraderie back then. Remember, back then we all lived on the ship.
Yeah.
When you're, unless you're, I think if you're married or chief and above is when you get the BAH. So we all lived on the ship. So we worked all day. We, left the ship together and went out and ate and drank and did whatever.
Right.
And, the engineers on there and the boatsmates, they worked real hard. And so I got really close with the boatsmates back then. Engineers did. So you're walking down the pier together,
Well,
it was good.
We're all getting off about the same time, right?
Great times. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, at my first ship, Bellawood, I lived on the ship as well. So I definitely get that. It's almost like every day was a day at a port, like a Liberty port. Once you got off work, it was like a working port, right? It wasn't like home port. At least that's how it felt. Now, what years about was that when you joined the Navy? Was that 85, you said?
85, 85. I came in June 85, graduated boot camp about August. went to school for a while. Got to my first ship. It was December 7th of '85, and I was on air until August of '89.
Okay, so you did. Wow, that's a good tour on your first ship.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was about 3.5 years or so. Yeah.
And what was? Did you deploy?
Oh yeah, we deployed a lot. Yeah, we went to North Atlantic twice, the Med cruises twice, and the Caribbean twice. It was ironic back then. Is not really ironic, but the opportunities to hit different countries. Remember, force protection back then wasn't like it is today.
Yeah.
We used to roll right up. We pull in the Genoa, Italy, and roll up to a Russian, well, back then Soviet cruise ship. It was like nothing.
Right.
Now with the post 9/11 and the force protection measures, pulling in the ports and the location of the ports is a little more pulled back.
Yeah, definitely. I think we definitely lost a little bit of that adventure side, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, good reasons, but it definitely takes away a lot from the idea behind. I'm gonna go see a lot of different places in the Navy. But back in those days, I mean, the '80s, technology was not really what it was today. I can only imagine what it was like hitting Liberty ports in the late '80s on a ship with a bunch of sailors and
Hey,
Marines.
hey, Gary, I went to a reunion on my first ship about a year ago, and I was telling these guys, I told the sailors on GW, remember my office, I had a phone there, calling with the world, screen TV, all good. I said,
Yeah.
my first ship, we had nothing. We had each other, and that was it. There was no emails. There was none. That was, we had the little Gold Star beta tapes.
Yeah.
You got to turn in your ID. Well, we had absolutely nothing. You had each other. So if you wanted to talk to someone, it wasn't so much email. If you look for help, you just look to your shipmate next to you, and that's all you
Yeah.
had. And
On your first ship, were you main propulsion?
main propulsion. Oh yeah, stood watching the engine room, worked down the engine room. GQ was in the engine room. Seeing anchor was in the room. I stayed there forever. I thought that was my only purpose. So you got pretty good at that engine room.
Yeah. Hey, I love main prop as well. I really did enjoy it. When I look back on my career, some of my favorite times was on those 6 and 6 watches, and
Yeah.
just in a routine. Right, you're just in this routine. I mean, it sucked you didn't get to sleep, but on the reverse, there's some good friendships, some good times.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And the ports
and
were
looking back on it all.
yeah.
How was the North Atlantic as far as the seas go? Do you remember the sea states up there? I heard they were pretty spicy.
Pretty spicy. I want to put a pistol in my mouth. Let me tell you what, it was absolutely awful. Awful.
Yeah.
Oh God, it was awful. And yeah, it was what you can imagine in October. And
Yeah.
bottom LST.
Yeah.
The
I've
captain would
heard
come over.
stories. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I've
the
heard
captain
the
would come
stories,
over.
man.
The captain would put us in our racks. He's like, you know what? I don't want anyone working. If you're on watch, go on watch. I want everybody else. This is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I want everybody in your rack. It was rocking that bad. You seen The Perfect Storm?
Yeah.
Yeah, think like that. It
So
was
do you
really
remember when you were your first ship, how big of a deal was it for you to get your qualifications done? Right?
yeah, huge. Yeah,
Huge.
very very huge deal. They were on you, but you know what? You stood watch down there. You worked down there. Seeing anchor and GQ down there. There was no excuse, right?
Yeah.
Not to get it done.
Did you have enough? Were there enough watch standers back then? Do you feel like to man the watch bill, or did they have similar manning problems then compared to how we have them today? Where it just feels like if everyone's not fully able-bodied, we're damn near barely able to staff the watch.
No, we had the watch manning was adequate back then. I think underway. I think we're in 3 or 4 sections. The EALs were like in 5. Manpower was never a problem back then. No.
Okay.
But good times, man. Yeah, port visits. Oh my God.
So during your first ship, did you know from the beginning, hey, I'm staying in the Navy, or did you ever think about getting out during that first tour?
No. I said, sign me up for more. I mean, I tell you what, chicks in New York City paying top dollar for this stuff, and we're getting it for free.
Yeah.
We're on an old LST Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, Israel, Turkey, the French River area. We went down south to Grenada and Antigua. I said, "You're crazy not to sign up for this. This is great stuff." Now we
Yeah.
worked hard though on the way. We worked hard. I mean, we didn't slouch, but when you went in the port, it was fun, and there was no doubt that I was doing 20, at least 20. I loved it.
Right. So at the end of your first ship, your first tour, were you at EN3, EN2?
Yeah, I was into SW. Yeah, which the
Nice.
surface warfare qual back then wasn't very popular. I mean,
Yeah.
it just wasn't. Well, later on, it became a requirement, right? Right,
Right.
years later. But
Right.
back then, um, no, it wasn't really mentioned. A couple times, my chief would mention it to me, and I said, "Sure, I'll do it," And but it wasn't very popular. And I got
Well,
to
I
my
mean,
second ship, and
sounds
then
like you had a good first ship though, bro. You came out of there a second class petty officer, SW qualified. Sounds like you hit a bunch of fun port visits, had a good positive mental attitude.
loved
Do
it.
you, looking back on all of that, was there anything you would tell to a first term sailor to use as a lens as they're approaching their first ship? Because the humanity is still the same. Technology might be different, but the people are still the same.
Yeah, yeah. Ironically, I work for the government now in ship repair. I oversee contractors fixing our ships and making sure they fix it according to Navy standards. So I get my sailor fixed, Gary, every day. I'm on a ship every day,
Right.
every day. So I'm talking to sailors every day. There's a lot of downtime on the ship too. A lot of younger sailors. Um, of course, I always preach, "Hey, where you going next?"
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, you need to go overseas. You know, and I don't care if it's the road to Spain or Italy or Japan, which I'm more partial to Japan, of course. But
Yeah.
if you got a young family, young kids, now's the time to do it. Go over there, do 2 tours, save some money, see that side of the world, and your family will love it. Your wife will be. The quality of life overseas is great,
Yeah.
and schools are really good. So that's normally what I preach to them.
Okay. Awesome. So when you're leaving the Newport, where are you going to next?
I was in I was in Marseille, France. I had a hernia operation, so he medevaced me from Palma, Spain, Palma de Marco, um, to Naples, and I got back to Marseille, France, and my chief's like, your PRD or EAOS, it's up like in a month. What are you
Yeah.
gonna do? I said, no, I want to stay.
Yeah.
And we got on the phone in the chief's mess, and I said, I want to go to Japan. I seen that was my second time in the Med. I said, I want to go to Japan, and I got a C school, Master Diesel in Camelot, and they shipped me off to lovely Sasebo, Japan, the USS San
Hey,
Bernardino.
so you went from the Newport to the San Bernardino forward deployed Sasa Vegas in 1989.
Yeah, I ended up. I actually got on there. It was December 20th of '89, 5 days
Okay.
before Christmas,
Right
and
before Chris, right before New Year's. So you did New Year's Eve out there in Sailor Town?
yeah. Well, I did. New Year's Eve was in Sailortown, but I had some really good married folks on the San Bernardino that invited me out for Christmas to their Christmas party and stuff,
Yeah.
and that was really cool. But I was still trying to find my way through the culture and everything, and it was really cool.
I was gonna ask you, what did you think when you first landed in Japan? And like you're not just visiting for a day or two, like this is gonna be home, and you gotta get from Fukuoka Airport to Sasebo to the bus or something, right? You know?
You know what? They had no bus back then. I was
Okay.
absolutely clueless. All right. It's not like today where, the sponsor and all that.
Right.
I had a guy, Chet McGuire. He's still around over in San Diego. He wrote me a just handwritten, welcome to Japan. And that was it. There was no, we'll pick you up. And there was none of that. So we flew into Narita, flight down to Fukuoka, And I was just like looking around and didn't know anything. And there's a Japanese guy with a sign said Piazza. I said, it's got to be me. And it was in a van. It was in a transport van. I was the only one there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like they had a process in place to come get you at least.
There was something there. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
something there. So I ended up on there. And um, again, I didn't know where I was going. Is going back to Sasebo, but I didn't know. We had technology. It's not like Fukuoka. You look on your phone real quick. There was none of that. So just kept riding and riding. And here we are. And I think it was like a 20-hour flight and everything with all the stops. And I got to San Bernardino on the quarter deck and welcome aboard. And I said, all I want to do is take a nice hot shower and go to bed. Says, well, water secure throughout the ship. Lovely. Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Oh my God. I was like, all right. So they found me a rack, and next morning water was up.
Where was San Bernardino parked at? Was it parked on the inside of the basin right there by where like the food court's at now?
Yeah, it's in the basin on the other side. If you're going into the basin,
Yeah.
it was to the left.
Okay.
You had the San Bernardino. These ships are all gone now.
Yeah.
The San Bernardino. You had the St. Louis. Was it LKA? She's long gone. And you had the Dubuque. LPD 8 or something. It was a steamer. And
Dubuque was out there when I got out there. Yeah.
Yeah, you had two rescue salvage ships out there. The Beaufort and the Brunswick was out there. And you had two submarines, the Darter and the Barbell. They had just left like a couple months earlier.
Oh, wow.
Two diesel subs, yeah.
Wow, that would have been
And that was
interesting.
it. So the population at base, it was nil. It's not like it is now. The club and all. No, there's none of that.
Was the triple play open when you got there?
What's that?
Was triple play open when you got there?
No. Oh, triple play. Yeah. The little bar and a couple pool tables.
Yeah, that was like all they had before Galaxies got opened up, right?
Yeah, that's all they had, and they did have the food court. And you were there. You remember the movie theater was like in a small garage.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember that. That was down on the left.
Yeah.
But the movie theater didn't come up until Jesus.
Well, when I got there, the Showboat was moving. There was the Showboat Base Theater.
Yeah.
It was in '97. It was up. So.
Yes. Yeah. They're just. I think they're just building it when I left there. That was in '92.
So you get to the San Bernardino. You're in EN2. You're in Sasa Vegas, Japan, and it's a 30. Is it a 2-year tour or a 3-year tour?
It was a 2-year tour back then.
Okay.
Yeah, 2-year tour. It's changed now, but back then it was 2.
Yeah. I mean, you just came off of a 3.5-year hit on your first ship, so I would imagine 2 years is about right.
Well, even if you're a first-term sailor, it was a 2-year tour.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, Big Navy changed that years later, saying these sailors are getting here. By the time you get qualified, you only get about a year out of them, they leave. So that changed.
Yeah, true that. So when you got there as an EN2, were you living on the ship, or did you get the chance to go live out in town?
No, I lived on the ship.
Okay, so lived on the ship. And did you like being in Japan right away? How different was the op tempo of being on the San Bernardino versus being on the Newport?
Much different. 4 deployeds, the op tempos more arduous, right?
Yeah.
First of all, I love Japan. I loved everything about it. The people.
Yeah.
Still holds a special place in my heart.
Me too.
The lived on the ship. That worked out well because we worked like till midnight every night. The op tempo was, over there we didn't do no 6-month deployments like I was on the Newport.
Right.
I was just you went out. For a while we went from taxi Marines to Okinawa and PI all the time. We did that constantly. We did for the first Desert Storm back in August of '90. Was it 90?
Yeah.
We went out there for Desert Storm, support the view, and then we came back and we did hit, I think, Hong Kong and Thailand, and PI. But normally we just kind of hovered around the area. Um, Guam, I think we hit Guam once, but Okinawa all the time because the admiral was down there, right?
Mhm.
ESG admiral was down there,
Right.
and we're broke, right? We pulled the PI for uh, Pinatubo, you know, and of course I was in Manila at the time, so I went back to Subic. That's another adventure, and helped get all the ash off the ship. We evacuees, got all the dependents off the base, get them on the ship, and we uh, we took them down to Cebu, where I think they flew them to Guam after that. Yeah, but we had all these families on the ship, Garrett. It was a mess. We hit bad weather. You had pets and dogs and cats and little babies crying, and one baby was a near death, and our doc saved the baby. It was really crazy. Yeah.
So there
Uh,
was the volcano that erupted. It was a volcano, right, in the
yeah,
Philippines that erupted,
yeah, Mount Pinatubo.
and you guys were you guys were doing neo operations or
Yeah,
non. You were evacuating non-combatants essentially,
yeah, yeah,
and that's one of our primary missions out of SASBO, right? With the amphibs, we're built to go pull people out
yeah,
of places and get them somewhere safe.
yeah.
And I can imagine so you guys are just moving them down to somewhere safe in Cebu, and you said it's a cruise ship, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's we put all the cots in the well deck, right? All the
Okay,
cots, and of course, it was privacy issues, right? We're not made for females, right? So we
right.
had to think real quick and get around that obstacle. So we came up with that, and off we went, and we hit bad weather going down there. Even bad for us. We're like, Jesus, man, you know. And
How
we
long
made
was
it.
the transit with all the people on board? Like 5 6 days?
Uh, they were on board. I want to say maybe 3 nights, 4 days, three
Okay.
nights, somewhere in there. Yeah, my
Okay.
heart went out to them, man. Gary, they came from different backgrounds, and some of them they're by themselves, and they just had their children, and their husbands had to stay, and it was crazy, but we made it through it. We did well as a crew.
Yeah.
We got everybody through it.
So looking at San Bernardino versus Newport, did you have a different experience with the crew now, being a second class petty officer from the beginning? Because in my mind, you're a leader at that point. From the minute you walk on board the ship, they're probably
Yeah,
looking to you to be a taking charge of people. Whereas on the San Bernardino or the Newport, you grew up on that ship, right?
yeah, yeah. There's a
So
lot of truth to that. Yeah,
I mean, just how it is, right? You walk on board as an E5 from a previous LST, like
yeah.
we expect you to go right away and start running things.
Yeah, they thought I was a brainiac. They're like, "Man, you're smart." I'm like, "Not really smart. I just came from an LST, so the learning curve wasn't harsh, you know."
Okay.
But now the standards from stateside to Japan were different. I had to tell the guy, "No, the EOS, we got to use the book, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's smart, professional, it's the law. Use the book."
Yeah.
And they didn't know anything about that, so I had to instill that into them. The book, man, this red book. You got to read it, use it.
Yeah.
And
EOCC, what is that?
yeah, literally some of them there's no training. But as far as the sailors, when you're stateside, you have that security blanket. I'm stateside.
Yeah.
Things get bad, I just go home. All right, I'm going to home for a weekend. Well, you're in Las Vegas and you're single. Might home's probably in the States somewhere.
Right.
So you're not just going home for a weekend.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of personal time. There's a lot of put your arm around the sail and say, here's what we got to do.
Yeah.
A lot of cohesiveness. Yep. A lot of mentoring going on.
Yeah, definitely. And so for everyone listening, EOS is like engineering operational sequencing systems. And essentially, it's what we would use in the engineering spaces to tell us how to do standard things, right? There was all these diagrams and all these procedures and protocols. And part of our training was you had to memorize the casualty control procedures that were emergency and immediate. And then you could review like your supplementary actions. And then
Yeah.
the EOS was to help you do things that you would do technically as a part of your watch station. And it's there to help protect you from doing wrong because these are equipment. Mike is standing up watching the engineering space, and look, I stood watching the pit in my first two ships, and I will tell you, I fought more casualties in my first two ships in those pit watches than I did almost the rest of my whole career on topsider as a DC man. Because when you're on the main space and you're keeping the lights on, and you're keeping the screws turning, something's always able to go wrong on a moment's notice.
Yeah. You may not see the same thing twice. And those EOS, the EOS Gary's talking about is they're written in blood. There's a reason for it. You know, people have gotten really hurt not using it, and equipment damage. So
So do you remember, let's say on your second ship, do you remember any significant casualties or anybody going through something crazy where your crew had to rally and to do something serious to take care of somebody?
Um, not on board the ship. No,
Okay.
we had casualties. Smaller casualties, blown going out to the Gulf. We had a blown fuel pump coupling, stuff like that. Nothing. We left Penatubo. We wiped out all the bearings on the engine. But one thing which really got us going was really on the ship was there was a bunch of Vietnamese evacuees. Well, to this day, I don't know if they're evacuees, but they're Vietnamese stranded. We're off the coast, somewhere off of Vietnam, somewhere between Vietnam and Hong Kong.
Okay.
And so one of these old wooden boats had like 15 Vietnamese on there, and the boat broke down, and my chief had to go down there and help fix it. There was a part that our MR made, and they had no food, so you had to offload all this food to them, which it couldn't be too much because the boat was very big, you know.
Right, right.
But, yeah, we did that. I thought that was pretty cool, that we're helping them out and
Yeah.
able to get them back on their way again, you know.
Okay. So 2 years on board the San Bernardino, it's almost like you're there for a year. Now are you picking orders at 9 months out, or was it every time it was like, hey, you got to leave in a month. Where do you want to go next?
No, 9 months out, you picked. Yeah,
So
you got on the
how was that?
phone.
Okay, on
What's
the
that?
phone.
You
How
got
was
on
that
the phone.
negotiation?
Yeah, you got to get on the phone around midnight, right? Because the time difference. So you go every couple of days. You go in the engineering log when people are like, on the phone trying to get a hold of Dito, which that wasn't easy, right?
Right.
It's not like now with emails. We had none of that.
Yeah.
There was no email. You just got to call them up.
Yeah.
And okay, where do you want to go? I want to go here. Okay, either I have something or I don't. Check something else. It's not like today, And I said, well, yeah, I'm digging Japan here, and we're up to Yokosuka like 6 or 7 months earlier. I said, yeah, I'd like to up to Yokosuka. Let's go to Yokosuka. And I went to the Bunker Hill CG, which is a 180 out from what I was doing.
Yeah, because now you're going to go A-gang, right?
Oh, yeah. They sent me to a helicopter recovery school. Helicopter, it's the RAS system. They sent me to that school in San Diego. So totally 180 for what I was used to, On the San Bernardino, I was port and starboard. I go to Bunker Hill. I'm in 5 sections. I didn't know how to act.
Like, is that an underway watch section that was 5 sections? So just so I understand, when you were on the Newport, you were pretty good watch rotations.
Not bad.
But then you got the San Bernardino and you were port and starboard.
Port and starboard.
And was that because of the lack of people, or was that because of what was causing that?
Well, you know what? Looking back, right, at the time I thought lack of people, but it wasn't. It was lack of leadership.
Okay.
Because we had sailors in engineering that they were never really pushed to get upward mobility or watch station.
Yeah.
Senior leadership never pushed them. We could have went 3 sections easily.
Yeah.
And later on, about a year or two after I left, new leadership got on board and they pulled into Yokosuka, and they're in 3 sections. So that was
you were port and starboard. So port and starboard, so everybody wouldn't understand. Whenever Mike got underway, he was either on watch or in his rack. There was no in between, and there wasn't this chance to have a few other hours outside of that rotation to just do anything, right? Just anything, whether it's work, whether it's not work. right? Just anything.
Well,
And it's people talk about sleep and sailors and deprivation. I promise you, management of people and management of resources is one of those contributing factors. And I was alluding to that in the first ship's conversation about the qualification paths, right? Because as a chief, that was always one of my biggest concerns is getting people qualified so we had depth in the watch bill. And as a CMC, and when I worked with my top snipe, I was like, brother, we got to get the watch bill qualifications up so everybody can have a good chance to have a fair rotation, not just these guys are port starboard and these guys are 12 sections,
yeah.
right? Like there was differences.
We stayed, we stayed tired because you do your 6 hours watch, and a lot of things while you're on watch, stuff breaks, equipment breaks. And one thing we hated, if it breaks like 20 minutes before you on watch, you're just staying down there.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're young, you suck it up, but we just stayed tired.
Well, the good thing about being underway was at least you're not missing out on liberty, right? Like,
no. When you pulled in, usually you went out with everybody else. Usually, unless something broke. But now, on the flip side, you had less distractions. There was no video games back then.
right.
There was no site TV. There was no satellite TV. There was nothing. So,
Were they smoking in the berthing back then?
yes, we did smoke in the berthing. You were allowed back then to smoke in the berthing. You were not allowed to smoke in your rack, your bed.
I don't know. I mean, and I smoked I quit smoking in 2018. So I smoked a lot of years. But I don't know if I could have handled all the cigarette smoke in the berthing. That would have been tough.
I was never a fan of it. You know what? I smoked too. And one thing about being port and starboard, I didn't like the smell of cigarette smoke in the engine room. Although you're
Right.
allowed to smoke, I didn't like it, because the exhaust and stuff. And I told people around me, don't even get near me with that cigarette. So I might have had a cigarette or two after watch, and that was it. And then, later on, July 30th, 1994, that was my last cigarette.
Wow. Nice. You remember the day also.
Yeah, my buddy's like, Mike, you hardly ever smoke. What are you doing? And he took it out of my mouth and put it in the ashtray, and I picked up 1 cent. Unless we're on the GW, and then you bring into the 012 level, and they had cigars up there, and I wasn't a fan of that at all. I went up there for the food,
Yeah. Do the little thing. Okay, so when you go to the Vicksburg, you said the Vicksburg, right? Cruiser.
The Bunker Hill.
Bunker Hill. So are you EN1 at that point?
Yeah, EN2. I made EN1 about 6 months later. 9 months later, I made EN1.
Okay, so just so everyone understands, EN2 is an E5 in the Navy. It's second class petty officer, engineman style.
Yeah.
And EN1 means he picks up E6, first class petty officer, still an engineman, but now he's operational in the auxiliaries division, focusing on the small boats, the ribs, and really all the gear that makes the ship operational, not combat systems.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And are you standing watch? It's a gas turbine.
Yeah.
Right.
I did watch down there in the auxiliary space. EVAPs,
emergency diesels,
ACs. We had no emergency diesels on there.
Okay.
Just air compressors, the air conditioning refrigeration plants, the EVAPs, and the steering units. That was about it. It was gravy train. Yeah.
Are you still single at that point?
I was still single.
Okay.
Yeah, I was still single. Yep.
Is that a 2-year tour on that ship as well?
That was still a 2-year tour for me. Yeah.
So you get to Yokosuka, 2-year tour. Did you do anything fun on that ship? I mean, did you guys hit a bunch of ports? Did you go anywhere operational?
Yeah, we pulled into Russia. I thought that was really cool.
Like Vladivostok?
Vladivostok, yeah, Russia. Yeah, we pulled into that. That was an experience.
Yeah.
I made first class. I picked up my AW warfare pin on there.
How'd you get an AW on that kind of a ship?
Well, back then, there's a little story behind it. I'm glad you asked that. So I'm working on my RAS system, right? On the flight deck. And the ATC comes up. He goes, hey, you want to help me with my SW? I said, sure, I'll help you. Hey, help me get AW pin. I was just joking. right? I'm serious. It's joking with him.
Yeah.
So he goes back to his the senior leadership and says, "Hey, I'd like to start an AW program on here." And the leadership said, "Yeah, you go ahead and do that. Since there's a squadron on board, uh,
Embarked. Yeah.
embarked, you could do it." Years later, you can't. But at the time, he sold it, and there was probably maybe a dozen of us signed up for the program, and he set it all up. I mean, we had to like wash the aircraft, do all these mechanical tests with it, and we had training every day from 1 to 2. And at the end, it was about 8 weeks. We had to do a 100-question test, and right before we pull into Thailand, 2 days before, they flew some pilots from the Independence, USS Independence aircraft carrier, to our ship, and we had an oral board, and we got our pin.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty. That's very cool, bro. And just what was your, I'd say, your experience as a crew member on the CG versus the first two ships, right? Did you have a different perspective on the rest of the crew? Because I'm sure you got to see everybody a lot more as a member of A Gang versus when you're in the pit propulsion. You see people in the mess decks or whatever, but it's probably nowhere near as much as you got the chance to get involved in extracurricular activities on board the cruiser.
Yeah, the CG, the Bunker Hill, more visibility, right? Like you said, I was on the flight deck. I was part of the flight deck team. Um, you work in a galley for whatever reason. A lot of your equipment is in different spaces. My RAS system was in the wardroom P-way. So
Okay.
yeah, officers walking by, on talking and all the other stuff, and yeah, it was pretty cool. They had questions about the system, so more visibility was the big thing.
Did
Sailors
you
were the same.
okay? Did you notice a difference in the Chiefs mess between the LSTs and the Chiefs mess on board the cruiser? Did you sense any differences in them, or were their messes about the same? And was your because when I was a young sailor, I don't even think I really paid a lot of attention to the Chiefs, except for like those are the Chiefs, like they're a little scary. But then when I got older, I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to even try to be a part of their club or be in that thing, right? I mean, I wasn't sure, and then all of a sudden, I picked it up, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going through this process called initiation, and I
Yeah.
never really thought about it. But when you were on the cruiser, were you looking at the chief's mess and like, hey, I think I want to go chief, or were you thinking about going officer? Did you?
No, strictly going chief.
Okay,
Um, the when I got to the Bunker Hill was commissioned in '86.
so,
The LSTs I were on were Vietnam War commissioned, 68, 69. So
okay,
much older ships, but also the the uh, the crew that we had on the chief's mess we had was better structured. We had disciplinary review boards, right? The
mhm.
chiefs were given more mentoring. They would talk to you more. You didn't get that on anything on LSD. First of all, you're hardly seen, and you might notice, when did the Command Senior Chief program come out?
Command senior chief.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, there was no in the '80s and early '90s, or late '80s, we had no Command Senior Chief or Command Master Chief program. They just took the
So
most senior. They took the most senior chief and said, "You're like a senior list advisor." I didn't meet a command master chief until I got to the Bunker Hill in '92. He had his own office. I thought, wow, this is pretty cool.
well, because I don't think they had designed ships with that person in mind,
No,
like you said, in the older ships, right? And I do believe late 80s, early 90s is when the Command Master Chief program started. Command Senior Chief was going to be later, but I will tell you, it still didn't stick. The CMC program didn't, when I first joined the Navy, even, there were still people, I think, turning their nose up a little bit about the Command Master Chief position.
Yeah.
We're not nearly as mature as the other branches are with like the sergeant major
Yep.
because of how they do it. The chief's mess, it just operates differently,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And it's just culturally, it's part of who we are. And then again, the Navy, you have different variations between like the submariners and the Airedales as well.
Chief of the boat.
Um, yeah, just depends. So and there's still challenges, and this is why I'll be honest. I never wanted to be a command senior chief. I wanted to make master chief in my rate and then convert over because I wanted to be able to say I did that, right?
Right.
But then on the reverse, I was looking at the program because I was like, it's hard to make master chief in your rate. It's a
Oh
little
yeah.
simpler to make command senior chief and then go, even though I don't know if that's the same now or not. So when you were leaving the Bunker Hill 2 years, okay, so now you've just done 4 years in Japan and 3 ships straight. At some point, are you going to go to shore duty, Mr. Piazza?
Yes. I went to the fuel farm. I worked for Fisk Fuel that's Surumi, the Fleet Industrial Supply Center. They had a detachment in Yokosuka. I don't know if you ever realized it, but there's an island out there in the bay.
Yeah.
Hakozaki Fuel Terminal was out
Yep.
there.
So that's
And
where you went for shore duty was the fuel farm.
yeah, it was actually neutral duty still. Yeah,
So
they
it
did away with all that.
sea and shore.
I'm sorry?
Did it count as sea and shore then?
No, it was just neutral.
No.
It wasn't neither shore or sea. It was neutral. The ATGs were like that too back then.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hustle.
Yeah.
Back in those days, ATG was a good place to go get a job.
Well, yeah, because what a lot of sailors were doing is, hey, I'll go to ATG for 3 years, and now I'm going to go back to the States for 3 years on shore duty.
Yeah.
So you had sailors 6 straight years not walking on a ship. I mean, they might have walked on a ship, but not being part of the crew, right?
Right.
So big Navy said, no, you're 6 years, you're not being on a ship? No. So they stopped all that crap. Yeah.
Well, you know what was even a bigger hustle was when they were doing that assignment incentive pay. You remember those years?
Yeah, that was nuts. Yeah.
Oh my God, those guys were making freaking bank to be at ATG, Sasebo, and Yokosuka. I couldn't believe what the money they were making for those.
More that later. I'll actually get into that later.
All right, we're going to get into that.
Keep going down my career path. I run into that. I didn't get it, but there's a story behind that.
I didn't get it either. I was pissed. Yeah. I didn't get a couple of good things that I thought I should have got.
Yeah.
So you go to the fuel farm, and now you're living out in town because you're shore duty, right?
Well, I lived on base. I lived in the barracks on base.
They had you as an EN1 in barracks on base?
Yeah. I lived on base in the barracks. Now, back then, I think I could have gone out of town. Could I have gone out of town? I forgot. I don't think I wanted to. I lived in a barracks, but I lived all by myself. The rooms back then, now, I think that was like Admiral Kelso, quality of life, right?
Yeah.
Quality of life. And I had a barracks room all to myself. I had a TV, the fridge, kitchenette. I had 2 beds in there, but it was just me, So all my buddies that were on the ship were partying at my place. So life was good. I was right next to the exchange, those barracks over there, right? Mm-hmm. I know they're converted over home port ashore, but back then they were really nice. And I ate at galley, which was like, I don't know, 200 feet away. So I had no worries. I had no problems, And the Hakozaki Fur Terminal was about 10 minutes away down the road, Anjizuka Station, but we parked there. We took a little boat to the island every day, and there was no lunch facility, so I had to come home for lunch every day. But it was different. Good times back then.
By then, you had your driver license, and you were driving in Japan.
Oh yeah, getting pulled over for speeding and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Going out in town and having a good time out there in the haunch.
Oh yeah. Well, not as much, because I had the barracks room, right? So, going out of town, I still went out, but still had fun, but not as crazy,
Yeah.
Because I'm driving, I don't need a DUI.
Right.
But great times, man. Yeah, and then Yeah, when I left the fuel farm and um, went to the Hewitt, the Sprue Can Destroyer right there in Yokosuka.
So another ship Yokosuka, and just so I understand, did you make chief at the fuel farm, or did you make chief on the sprue can, or is that later?
Later, I made chief at SEMA. Um, when I was at the fuel farm, I met my girlfriend, wife now,
Okay.
and I'm like, where am I going to go? Do I want to stay here in Japan? I was actually up for orders. They're going to offer me Hawaii, and I was like, Hawaii? I've never been to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so I settled on the destroyer because the Hawaii would have been shore duty. So I went from neutral back to sea duty, and I was on there for 2 years, and I did the home port shift. I don't know if you remember, but the USS Vincennes came over,
Yeah.
CG, and we took her spot back in San Diego. We stopped in Alaska, Victoria, British Columbia, and in between that time, I got married and uh, brought the wife over. That was October of '97. She came to San Diego. Yep, and
So when you brought your wife to San Diego, so did you get the ship to San Diego first, then you fly back to get her, and then you bring her?
no, we're in Japan. Her and her mom and my wife flew to Jersey, got married in Jersey, went back to Japan. I got underway, went to San Diego. She flew over because she had to finish up some immigration paperwork,
Hmm.
and yeah, then we settled down there and
Good for
did all
her.
the
So she
work.
made the flight from Japan to San Diego by herself.
Yeah, yep,
Good for her, man. That's a. Cause I know a lot of times some of these ladies they're a little bit nervous about coming to the states for
yeah,
the first
yeah.
time. So good, but sounds like she went to Jersey first, and I bet, was she excited to go to San Diego?
She was excited about it. As a college, she went to English school, so as a student, uh, they went on a trip to Los Angeles.
Okay.
So she kind of figured out LA, yeah. But yeah, we got down to San Diego, and she already had a driver's license from Japan, but she had to get a uh, American driver's license. So she got
Right.
that, and that driver's license, that's freedom, right? She's off to the races and shopping and all that. Japanese nationals, their navigational skills are really good. They got that down. Yeah, I have no worries there.
Was
Got
there?
underway, got away a couple times. She's fine.
Yeah. So where? How did you get your housing figured out? Did you go to? Did you get base housing? Did you go live out one of the family housing areas?
Went to Fleet Family Support Center. I knew I knew nothing about San Diego. I mean, next to nothing.
Yeah.
Internet was still kind of new, still sort of kind of. This is
Mm-hmm.
'97, so it was
I love
out there.
AOL. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have a phone or anything like that.
Yeah.
Pagers was a big thing.
Yeah.
But went to Flame Sports Center, and those wonderful people there. Like, got North County, South, East, and West County, San Diego. I was like, I guess East County, and we settled in La Mesa, and which we love La Mesa, you know, and yeah, we stayed there until I left Hewitt, and I went to SEMA San Diego, and
Okay. So Sima San Diego, it's a shipyard, right? And when
oh,
you
not
went to
really shipyard, SEMA, the intermittent maintenance activity, which is right on the base.
okay, so you did ship repair stuff,
Yes, yeah, I was in a pump shop.
the pump shop. So your
Yeah,
job was to learn how to. God, you know what? Those were the jobs that we need more of back in our Navy because sailors, those years you spent at that pump shop probably made you invaluable back in the fleet, being able to
oh
fix.
yeah, yeah. You know, it's ironic. You go there, and my mentor, he was one of those 20-year first classes that, you know, he knew his crap, man. He knew his stuff,
Yeah.
but he wasn't Navy, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, we had a few of those in the shop. They just weren't Navy. And he taught me everything. And a lot of people, a lot of the sailors, myself, we'd go back out to the fleet and yeah, there's a problem with the pump. We got it,
Right.
Yeah, well, you're right though. We lost that.
Yeah,
That's
that was a huge loss. It was. I'll tell you, Watertight Door Shop. That was another
yeah.
one that we had. That when we lost that. Okay, so you go to Simba San Diego. Is that on the? Is that wet side?
That's on the
32nd
west side. Yep, it's still there. It's called Swarmix Southwest Regional
Region Center.
Maintenance
Yeah.
Activity. The buildings are still there, but they changed the
And
commands
so
and stuff.
you go there, and this is before Andrew was born, correct?
Yeah, well, yes, it was 97. Andrew was born in 99, May
Okay.
99.
And but you said it's during this tour that you pick up Chief Petty Officer.
I picked up Chief.
And what year did you make Chief?
We're the 99. We're the Y2K Chiefs.
The Y2K
As they
Chiefs.
called us, the Y2K Chiefs.
How many Chiefs? So did you go through initiation just with Chiefs from Sima, or were you part of a big collective?
No, it's similar. There's 22 of us.
22 of you in 1999.
Yeah.
What was initiation like for you in 1999?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it is with the props, right? The
Mhm.
caskets and all that.
Yeah.
The one thing I like the way they do it now, which I didn't like back. I compared it back then. I tell the command senior chiefs this too. The training now is better.
Yeah.
We had no training back. There's no training. Then push-ups, sit-ups. That. When are we going to get trained? And they
Yeah.
did back then. They had I think 1 week of mandatory training. The chiefs came in, they give their spiel, but it was more than that. Like sit through a disciplinary review board. We didn't
Right.
do that. We didn't do any of that. Just the little things. We did. They just never gave us any chances. Beat the crap out of us. We ran. Hey, Gar, you've been to San Diego. We ran and we ran and we ran and we ran. And when we were done running, we ran more. We ran so much that the next year, the command senior chief or the command master chief said, unlike last year, we're not only going to run, okay? And we
Yeah.
ran. The only thing I learned about myself, we're up like 7 miles. I never imagined in all my life running 7 miles. We
Right.
ran from Pier 1 all the way to Prout Gym over on the dry side, all the way back, Pier 13, all the way. It was nuts. I
Yeah.
mean, it was nuts.
Do you remember? Was it like a 10-week process, a 13-week process?
No, it was 8. Let's see. We found out it was September 16th. Go back 4, 5, 6. It was probably about 8 weeks, I guess. Yeah, somewhere around 8 weeks. And they beat
Okay.
the
And then
crap out of us.
did you guys do? I know you did. Did you do PT? Sounds like you did PT rather frequently,
Yeah,
right? Or was it like 3 times a week?
it was 3 times a week. But
Okay.
I mean, even when it was like a training day, we were still PTing.
Okay. And then
Because
did you guys do like mess training over the lunch hours, or did you do stuff like that where you had to enter the mess and go in there and go over all the crap you had to learn? Still did
yeah,
all that stuff.
yeah, we had all that. We had we went out and bought all kinds of sandwiches and pizzas and
Yeah.
sodas, and they messed with us and they ate and laughed.
Yeah, you lost money because you were supposed to make money and nobody paid.
We had funny to bring that up, right? So we didn't know what we were doing. You don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like so we one of our selectees was part of like the security detail in the area. I mean, he was part of like P. Diddy Combs. He actually knew P. Diddy and his entourage. He was part of that detail. So he had a very good network of security folks. So we'd go up to LA. There's an amphitheater, it's probably still up there. And we do
Yeah.
concerts up there, right? And we made all kinds of money. We're like, this is our money. This is ours.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is our money. And what are we up
Yeah.
to? Hey, we're up to $17,000. Yeah, we're gonna have fun, right? And the treasury turns it all in, and they say thank you very much, but they start yelling and saying you didn't earn enough. There's 22 of you. This ain't nearly enough.
Yeah.
They're just messing with us. We didn't know
Like
that.
if you got to get a blank check and bring it in.
Yeah, we're like, well, when do we get our money? Like, Hey, everyone, they said that's their money. That's going to the best. CPOA, thank you very much. And that paid for the final night, and that paid for
Yeah.
the khaki ball and all. We had a nice khaki ball.
I remember, so, 2006 is when I made Chief. And I will tell you, I saw the training really pick up from 2000. When I made Chief, there wasn't that much training. They were trying it. And I
Right.
think even the Chiefs were like, what the hell is this shit? They didn't really want to do it. But
Yeah.
then it got better and better and better and better and better from there. But I think before 2000, because 2005, 2006, that was the transition year.
Yes.
Before that was initiation. Then after that was induction, and went through all this different stuff. And yeah, I do remember there being this huge focus on fundraising, and then we got away from that. But then it's like they still want us to do all these things, but now we have no freaking money to do anything
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
Well, khaki ball. When I made Chief, we didn't have a khaki ball at my mess. We had a khaki brunch because we didn't, whatever. And then I went to ATG and we had a khaki ball, and then I saw a khaki ball. So you make Chief in SEMA, and you do 3 years at SEMA?
Yeah, it was 3 years. I got there July, March. Yeah, not quite 3 years. It was like 3 years and not 4 years. 3 years and like 8 months. I left early to fill a billet back over in Japan on the Curtis Wilbur.
Okay, so you got an opportunity to go back to Japan, Curtis Wilbur, and by that point, Andrew's born?
Oh yeah, he was born in '99, so this was 2001. This was in I left there in March. I went to CPEC up in Great Lakes, and the leadership school we had to go through back then.
Yep.
We had to do that.
Was this before 9/11 or after 9/11?
Right before 9/11. 9/11 went down in September. 9/11, obviously September 11th, and I got on board there I checked on board in July.
Okay, so you go to senior enlisted propulsion engineer course in Great Lakes.
Yep.
And then you get back to Japan with your family and your baby now. So now you're bringing a grandbaby home to meet the family.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then you get to the ship, and now you're a chief. You're checking on board. Are you going to be the A gang chief on board the ship?
I was A gang chief. To back up a little bit, now my wife took my son. My son went back to Japan while I went to school up in Great Lakes.
Okay.
And so I was up there for 2 months, whatever it was. Went back home for a couple weeks with my family, and went back to Japan, and we met up over there.
Okay.
But
what do you remember for September 11th when you're on board the ship? Like, you were asleep when 9/11 happened?
Yeah, I was over there. Well, over there, remember?
It's the night, right? It's time differences.
My daughter-in-law was in the North Tower, but she got out.
Okay.
My brother was in the South Tower. He quit 6 months earlier, but never told us.
Okay.
So yeah, we thought he was gone. Yeah, a lot of uncertainty. It was what you can imagine. Now it happened at night over in Japan.
Yeah.
So I didn't know any of this until the next morning. I woke up, and actually, it was my DC-1 calls me up, says, "Hey, HE, they're calling everybody back to ship." I'm like, "Why? Is there like terrorists going on or something?" Because back then, you used to get these like terrorist alerts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the gate was closed, and the cars were parked out on the street. There was lines to get in, and what the hell is going on? I went in a mess, and that's when I seen it. I'm like, wow, I need to call home. And right, POTS line back then, right? So long line on the ship, the POTS line. And I called home, and I talked to my parents. They're like, no, everything's fine. But they were confused too, because they're calling my brother and his wife's house.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went down there and no one's there. But then there's a recording of my brother asking my sister-in-law something, like, wait a minute. And it hits beeper. It's like time 10 something. The towers got hit at 8. So the whole thing didn't jive. But no, the idiot never told the family they quit.
Okay.
There's a lot of uncertainty there. Yeah, a lot of emotional times. And then we got underway with the Kitty Hawk. Yeah.
Okay, so the Kitty Hawk gets deployed, and does the Kitty Hawk get sorted out over to the Persian Gulf?
We escorted the Kitty Hawk to off the coast of where the heck we're at now. We were in the Gulf. She was a helicopter platform for the Army. Yeah.
For the roll into Afghanistan.
Yes.
Okay.
So
you guys were out there operational, and I mean, in Seventh Fleet, every time we get underway, we're operational, right? Like at the end of the day, whenever you get underway, which is why I love Seventh Fleet, because whenever we get underway, we're operating with near peer competitors in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And so that's happening. But this is the first time you're operational. I mean, you went to Desert Storm, you said that, right? But this is different, right? This got to feel different.
Yeah, well, it was because our mission was just kind of watching over the carrier, you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of boring. We weren't. I don't remember being out there very long. I think it was Enduring Freedom, but I think we nicknamed it Enduring Sleepers because we didn't really. Yeah, we really didn't have a job. The ships that the O'Brien and the John Paul Jones were the first ones to launch Tomahawks into Afghanistan. I remember Mike Chang telling us when he got off watch. He was the KO at the time. He said, "Yeah, they just launched," and I think they launched. I think we're like about a day or two out before we were going to get to our area. Yep.
Okay.
Wild time.
Are you on the Wilbur for 3 years?
3-year tour. Yep.
3-year tour. You guys come back from that portion of doing with the Kitty Hawk. Is that the only time you guys deployed out there to that theater after that? Did you guys stay back in 7th Fleet after that?
Yeah, we never went back. Yeah, we never in-shopped the 5th Fleet after that. We just stayed in 7th Fleet. Had some good cruises. Yeah, back in 2002. Yeah, we World Cup Present Mission and Jeju-do, Korea, and seen the World Cup game there. And
awesome.
We went up Nagasaki and Arturu, up all the way north of Hokkaido, up by Sapporo. That was pretty cool. Korea, the SHRM exercises, all the operations. I don't know. We went. Everyone had a starter jacket knockoff. Everyone had a blanket. Now we'd go there. We're going next month. Going back down to Korea.
Yeah, going to Busan or going to freaking. It was Busan or Pohang. Those are the two.
Yeah. Busan, Pohang, Chinhae. Yeah,
we were there. Blankets were the thing for sure. Yeah, starter jackets.
Yeah.
So you do 3 years on board Curtis Wilbur. Is it after this ship where you go to Frank Cable?
After Curtis Wilbur, I went to the Ashland, your old ship.
No kidding.
Yes, I went to the Ashland.
Ashland was in Virginia?
That was in Little Creek. Yep, she was in Little Creek. So PCS again, come back to Little Creek. And that was only a minimum activity tour, 2 years for me. That was a 2-year tour.
And did you go to Geobatch or did the family come with you?
Oh, no, the family came with me. We bought a house, the one I'm living in right now. And, we deployed to Gulf. We were in the Gulf. Yep.
Were you on Ashland? Were you there when they had the fire on Ashland?
No, that was afterwards. No, that happened. That happened. In fact, at my retirement ceremony, the Chang was there. Not my Chang, but my Divo, who became the Chang of, was it Ashland? Oh, what fire are you referring to? Which one?
So there was a fire because Terry Wiley was a DC senior chief who was on Ashland, and they had a big fire on board Ashland one day during like an import duty day.
Oh.
And it was like there was a big fire on Ashland. He was telling me about it one time.
That's probably after I left. Terry got on board there. When did he get in? I was there about a year and a half, and then Terry got on board. Yeah.
Okay.
I seen Terry. Went to his retirement ceremony. He
He's
does
over
a
there
lot.
running training.
What's that?
He's over there running training over at TSC, I think, isn't he?
I don't know. He's doing a lot of paintings.
Yeah, he does a lot of
Yeah, he's
painting.
into paintings. He's doing a lot of
Very
paintings.
artistic. Very artistic.
I ran him a few times. Yep, he's doing
So,
well.
when you were on Ashland, were you back in main propulsion again?
Oh yeah, I was the top snipe.
Okay.
I was getting some of that.
So
No
you were
sleep.
top snipe on Ashland. All right, man. Hey,
No
that's my
sleep.
club.
No,
I
no
love Ashland.
sleep.
That's my shit.
Yeah, no sleep. No weekends. It was rough, and I was there when it was actually in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
you know, um, and then later on they went in the yards over at Metro, and they outfitted you guys with the EVAPs. Right, we took the boilers off and all that. So
Right.
I was living life with the EVAPs and the boilers, and very challenging tour. Yeah, I'll tell you what, the E5s and the E4s carried me quite well because their first tour is almost 4 years on there.
Yes.
So they're seasoned. Those guys, inspection time rolls around, like, yeah, so this is what we need to do, this, that, and then I just follow them. I gotcha. And it worked out well.
So did
Yeah.
you make Scene Cheap on the Wilbur? Did you make Scene Cheap on Ashland?
I made Scene Chief on the Wilbur about 2 months before I left.
Okay. And then you got there. And your top snipe tour, did you do it? Was it a full 3-year tour?
On Ashland, no, 2 years.
2 years.
It was a 2-year tour on there because I just did 3 on Curtis Wilbur.
Wilbur. Okay. So you did 2 years on board Ashland. Did you deploy there, or was it just a bunch of stuff around the States?
No, we deployed. I'll tell you, God bless my wife, Gary. She's never been to Virginia. And we ride in Virginia. And for my son, we were over in Yokosuka, hurt his shoulder. I said, hey, there's a hospital, Portsmouth Naval Hospital. I'm not sure where it's at, but I'm sure you can figure it out and find it. I was there for 10 days, and off I'm gone.
Yeah.
And she came back. She had it all down. We was only gone for, I think, about 3 weeks. And 3 months after that, I left again for 6 months. Yeah, she had it. I mean, yeah, she had it down. Oh, yeah. Very independent. She had it down. And yeah, that was a 2-year tour. Good tour. Left there and went to ESG 7 on Sasebo.
Outside. So you were the 76, so Task Force 76 or ASG 7. You were on the staff. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, that's
Yeah,
cool.
so it's a little bit different in the States than in Sasebo. Sasebo, it's separated, right? The part of the admiral's down there in White Beach.
Yeah.
But the over on was the Essex at the time is Fibron, right? And they deal with operational side, tactical side. The Det Sasebo side deals with maintenance, upkeep, and training. All right. So that was code, N7. That was the training side.
Yeah.
And the admiral, that was Admiral Pottinger, and we had Admiral Landau, and they just flew us to different countries. And a lot of times we got underway with the ships. We got underway back then. It was the Harper's Ferry and the
Germantown?
it wasn't Germantown yet. Harper's Ferry and Tortuga.
Tortuga. That's
Yeah,
right.
later on, Germantown arrived. So we rode her. I rode Tortuga immensely, and to the point to where we had a lot of problems on there, and they fired the captain, fired the XO. In fact, the captain of Tortuga at the time was my old XO on the Ashland. Great guy, but it just victim of circumstances. But they fired the Chang, and I'm in the Philippines, and they're like, hey, you made mass sheet. I said, get out of here. No, not really. I said, let me see the message.
Yeah.
Cool. They called me up in the captain's cabin. You're now the chief engineer on board. I was like, you got to be kidding me. No,
Tortuga?
of Tortuga.
So looking back on that ship, and you're seeing these top tier leaders get fired who had evidently done good in their careers up till that point.
Right.
What was it that was causing them to not be able to get their hands around the problem that was causing them? Because why they got fired is not meeting expectations of the boss
Right.
consistently, right?
Right.
That's really what it is. Were they just unafraid to deliver the bad news? Were they just unafraid to hold people accountable? Like, what was causing the problem?
It was lack of focus. Lack of focus. Yeah. Insert was on the horizon. We all know what inserts are like, inspection survey. And especially overseas, right?
Mhm.
We need the ships ready out there at all times. And the focus of the senior leadership on board all the way down to the deck plate, it wasn't there. It wasn't a priority for them. They'll get around to it when they get around to it, you know. And it's challenging too, though. You know, I felt for them. I mean, it's not like stateside. You have all these resources. You're in Sasebo.
Yeah.
The resources were limited. You know, back then they should have like been jumping up the table, say, "Hey, we need this, we need that." And of course, the CO got fired, the XO got relieved, the Chang was gone, and now you got more resources than you ever needed, right? Because
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
so now you got 7 fleet up your coast to the 3-star. Hey, what are you doing to fix my ship? Well, they threw all kinds of money at it.
Yeah.
We lived on board with the ESG7 deck, myself. They locked us in the engine room. I was in Maine too. Couldn't get out. They're like, yeah, go ahead. That head's down there. I'm Mashi. Like, Mashi, you can't leave. I said, I'd like to stay down there with you guys. Oh my God. Everyone stayed there. We
Yeah.
stayed in the
I
engine
heard a
room.
lot of I heard a lot of stories about Tortuga.
Oh
I
my
heard about that stuff.
God. And so we stayed down there. They threw money at it. And the port engineer, great guy. He had both ships. He was good. Retired Captain LDO. Um, uh, he said, Mashi, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, we're calling MSC ships, directing them to get away from this port, to pick that up. You know, that's some high level stuff. You know,
Yeah.
you're telling the admiral saying, I want that ship going away to pick up that bucket of paint and materials and bring it here. Garrett, it would have blew your mind on what was happening. And Admiral Landau at the time, I'm riding Tortuga, and we're in a big discussion. He's talking, and he get ready to leave, and he looked at me. He said, "Come with me." I'm like, "Oh, here we go." He said, "What do you think?" I said, "Admiral, I'll tell you what. My first insert was in 1986, and 3 things will get you through insert: attitude, attitude, attitude. And I do believe that's what's going to make us go over the finish line on this ship too." And it was. We got through it. As painful it was, and it was painful, but we did it. And of course, the Tortuga came back stateside. I was on her about a month ago in her chief's mess.
Yeah.
The top sniper invited me on board, who was an EN3 on Tortuga and Sasebo.
Very cool. So when you were on that ship, at some point, did the sailors start to take ownership of that attitude piece? Did they start to recognize that they have
Oh
got
yeah,
to take a turn and care?
oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what?
They did. They
But
really
was
did.
that something that you had to lead them to, or did it take seeing people get fired for them to finally be like, "Look, this is serious, and we've got to step up here"?
Yeah, yeah. It was that point to where, hey, this is some serious stuff.
Yeah,
And but you know what, the first class E5s and below, all they needed was some direction. That's all they needed. You know, the fresh piss and vinegar was there. They work. You know, if you tell them what to do and what the goals are, what the expectations are, they'll do whatever. You know, sales will run through a brick wall. You know, if you tell them to.
yeah,
They just needed some guidance, and that's what we instilled on them. And they went back stateside, and I don't know. She went in the slot. It's called SLEP. She went
yeah.
to
I heard. Yeah, that was tough.
yeah. Then they're still they're still recovering from that.
Yeah, they should have. The Navy does some dumb things sometimes, man. So coming off of your time at ESG 7, Was that a 3-year hit as well?
Yeah, 3 years, about 3.5. I wanted my son to finish up grammar school. He was
So
finishing
at
up.
that point, where are you at in your career at that point? Are you like 17 years in the Navy at that point? 18 years in the Navy?
Let's see, where was I at? So after ESG, I would have been at 25.
At 20, at 25 years in the Navy?
Yeah, 25 because I did 30. I left ESG, not maybe not quite 25. Yeah, because I left ESG. I left ESG 7. That was May. Yeah, it's like around Memorial Day.
So real quick, Mike, where was Joe Camp at your CMC? Was that the Wilbur?
That was on the Wilbur from 2001. Joe got on there in 2000. I got on there in 2001, and Joe left us in 2002.
Okay. When you look back up until let's say till your ESG 7 time, did you have any strong like chiefs or master chiefs in the messes that you were like, that guy right there is doing it good?
Oh yeah, as far as I'm
I'd say
sorry.
just deck plate leadership across the board, getting the mess to be where they needed to be, right? Getting
Uh,
the mess to be aligned. Where was your best Chiefs mess up till that point when you were on the ESG 7 staff?
oh, the best Chiefs mess was on what ship? What command was Curtis
Yeah,
Wilbur?
yeah. What command?
Oh, Jesus, they got Joe Campa.
Hmm.
All business. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he ran a tight mess. Um, he did a lot of cool stuff, and then I
Yeah,
went on other messes. I was like, oh man, no, this isn't the way it's supposed to be, guys. Oh my god, no. I mean, yeah, Joe instilled some serious deck plate leadership. He held Chiefs accountable. You were fully engaged. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. You were engaged. I got on there. No kidding. I got on there. That would have been like May. Curtis going back Curtis Wilbur. That was July. I got on there, and I was only on there how long? I don't know. Maybe a few months, maybe I don't know. But whatever the cheap evals came out back then, I forgot. And I don't know, it was 4 or 5 months later, whatever it was. And he gave me an MP. I was like, holy crap. But I volunteered for all kinds of stuff. We used to sell stuff up in Yokohama. We'd go up to
yeah.
Tokyo and sell stuff. So it was all with him. It was all about being engaged. If you're engaged in the mess, you're all right in his book. If you were not, it wasn't good.
You
Um,
used to tell me about he would put the FSA college fund out there at the beginning of the Chiefs meetings
oh
and
yeah.
be like, hey, donate to the college fund.
Yep, it was ding ling 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 ling, and he give his 1 minute spiel right on why it's important to donate to the FSAs because they did a lot. Now this is during enduring freedom at 9/11, so we got underway and they uniforms, they served this and all that stuff in the mess. So they did a lot for us,
Yeah,
and we all had a lot of money, so it was on 20s and 30s. These guys went to Thailand, they're blowing it. They loved it. But one thing that he
awesome.
did, which was really cool, was um, we worked well with the wardroom. I mean, super good. He used to tell the captain and the officers, "Hey, you guys are having an officers function tonight, right? Yeah. Well, we're chiefs. Why can't we handle? Why do we need a CDL? Why can't the chiefs be the CDL?" And the captain's like, "Well, I guess you guys could." Well, yeah. My QM1, Mollenauer,
Mhm.
see Mollenauer. He's out in Hawaii.
I do know Derek. I just talked to him yesterday, actually.
He was on GW with us.
He
Well,
was.
Eric was a QMC. He was or OD. He's like, we need to get on the way. I got Chief Mollenauer. He'll get us on the way. All right.
Yeah.
I got Chief Piazza, the EAL. So why do I need officers on board? Go out there and do your thing. And officers love that.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, when we had a chiefs function, all the chiefs left, and the officers took our place.
Yeah.
So wait, MPA's an EDO. We don't need a chief for that. We work
I was
very,
able
very well together.
I was able to do that exact same thing on Ashland, man. We were able to support CDO so the officers could have their function. And then
Yeah,
for initiation, I was able to get all the chiefs off the boat to go do initiation stuff. And for khaki ball, and the officers covered down.
yeah, it
And,
worked out well for us. And
yeah. So
yeah,
after,
that
so
worked.
Mike, after ESG 7, is that when you went to GW?
ESG 7 GW. Yep.
Okay, let's
Rolled up the
go.
car and up from Kyushu to Honshu. Yep.
So when you got to the George Washington, you and I got there like damn near the exact same time.
Yeah, I got there July, I think, right?
I got there in January, so you might have came right after me. But I remember you got there right when I picked up senior chief, or right when I made senior chief.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. 'Cause I don't remember you being a chief. I remember you being a senior chief. So I
yeah,
think I got there in July, and yeah, my was that who was the chief at the time? Gebhardt. Yeah, he flew back to Millington. I think you had Marchant there. He was standing in,
yeah,
and I arrived in
that's right.
July. Yep.
That's right. Yeah. Matter of fact, you were there the day they announced I made senior chief, and they didn't announce it. They were like, "Oh, now chief or Chief Wise made senior chief," and I was like, "Yay!" People were a little bit bummed because nobody else picked it up, but I was still a new guy
Oh, really?
relatively. Yeah. So GW, right? When you got that, you had Commander Lund was our first chief engineer when you got
Yep,
there.
yeah, he's over in Yokosuka.
Is he? I'm trying to find that dude on LinkedIn, man.
He's the executive director up there. He wears a bow tie. Yeah, a lot of you remember Barry Norris?
Uh huh.
Or Barry? Yeah, Barry's in Guam now anyway. But
Yeah.
Barry knew he used to run into him all the time. Um, Jenks, Rob Jenks was over there. He's back in San Diego, but yeah, a lot of people ran into him.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see. I saw Rob over in Guam a few times as well, man. So when you got to GW, what do you remember about the ship when you first got there? Here you are, 25, 26, 27 years in the Navy, getting to the end of your tour. We still have Captain Lausman as the CEO, right?
yeah, too tall, huh?
Too tall. Remember those khaki calls in the freaking hangar bay?
Yeah, yeah. Remember him well. Remember him well. Yeah, I was totally stoked on going to a carrier. Never been to one. You
Yeah.
know, stuck on snowboards. I'm going to a carrier, and I'll tell you what. After like first 2 or 3 days, I was sold on this stuff. I said,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, this is it." The mess and the people and it was just big. Everything was huge.
Yeah.
And it was great. I'll tell you what. I told my friends. I said, I did 3 years on there, and then I went shore duty for 2 years, retired. But if I had more time, I would have done 5 years on there. It was great.
Yeah.
No
It was a
problems on there. It was
It was
smooth.
a great ship, man. I love the George Washington. I really did. We did. It was hard. It was hard duty. Not gonna lie to you. I was exhausted, but
Yeah, yeah. You had a challenging division on there. The DC division. You guys have a lot of real estate on there. A lot of
real
real
estate,
estate.
not a lot of people. Yeah, it was
You got a
tough.
lot of real estate, and every space you had was critical. You know, every space was critical. It's very challenging. And
Yeah.
same on the Tortuga too. That DC on there.
And you remember that time we were in your office and those females came in and they were complaining about the girls that were in the berthing, kissing on each other in the berthing, and we were just like, you were just like, "Get, what are we gonna do about this?"
Girls
And
are
so
further.
there was a couple females talking about other females in the berth and smooching, right? And
Wow.
this is back after Don't Ask, Don't Tell was recently gone, right?
Huh?
And it was an HT, it was a DC female. And you're like, what are we gonna do about this, Gary? And I was like, let's go get them and let's freaking figure this out. Because I wanted to put them on a report. I was like, they need to go on a report for frat. And you're like, no, Gary, we're just gonna talk to them, Gary. We're gonna bring them in. And so you bring them up and you got the HT females kind of being a little timid, but the DC girl, she's being like straight at you because she was in security at the time. Remember that? She was working in
I
security.
remember this. But your DC females were wild, dude.
Wow, bro.
You had,
They
you
work
had,
hard and play hard.
I remember you telling me you had to put them in check a few times.
Worked hard and played hard.
Listen through the bulkhead, you're like, oh, it's easy over there, easy.
Yeah, worked hard and played. But I'll never forget, man. You told the one girl, you're like, look, nobody cares who you're kissing on. You just don't do it in the freaking birthday. I was dying.
Honestly, I don't remember that.
Oh, it was great, man. That was one of my favorite ones. I remember you and me used to walk around during GQ together all the time. Like,
Yeah,
George yeah, you would always get with me and walk around because I'd walk all their pair lockers and I'd be doing all the things, and you'd just be walking around, hanging out with me, talking to everybody. You know.
I remember your DC briefs were just off the chain, right? Oh, I see this and the way people are growing like a little baby, watching it grow, and all of a sudden you're all animated about it. You used to trip the chain, you used to trip us out.
Yeah. Hey man, we were fired up, bro. We had I'll tell you, we had the best damage control training team. People have no idea how good we were.
There was a lot. There was a lot. It filled up the whole damn wardroom dining area.
We were big. We were good, bro. Like, to this day, people contact me and they're like, we heard about what you did. Yeah. George, we did really, really good when it came to that kind of stuff. And that crew, we really rallied a lot of times, man. Yeah. We rallied a lot. I remember the underway sortie out of Hong Kong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was EDO that day. I was telling that story the other day. I'm EDO. We've been in Hong Kong for like half a day. And they're like, y'all got to get underway and go to the Philippines for a freaking NEO-op.
Yeah.
And we had it was 4 electricians that came in. The very last sailors back to the boat was 4 electricians, like 4 in the morning. And then we got underway.
Yeah. $63,000 was lost by the crew because they had to check out of the rooms early.
Yeah.
63,000.
Remember they made that big old water distribution thing and then we didn't even use it?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you mentioned that because it was on the news. This is going back about 8-9 years ago. And Sheridan, Baldwin, Sheridan. Well, he was stationed here for a while. We got together a few times. I called him, hey, man, they got the little gadget you made up on the news, right? Because they were using it. GW was using it for something else. But they finally did use it. I thought that was kind of funny.
That's cool.
But, Sheridan retired. I went to the ceremony. He retired. He's down there in Georgia.
Yeah. Do you remember the day of the earthquake?
Oh, yeah. Remember that?
I remember. Yeah. So I had an alcohol-related incident that day for my division. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. I do remember the earthquake. I remember we had just finished all hands call, right?
Every Friday, he'd give them all 3 days off, right?
Yeah.
And he just cussed out us over in front of everybody. He said, last night we had an alcohol-related incident, and this division doesn't know it yet, but they're coming back at 6 p.m. tonight for alcohol training. And if you remember, me and the DCA had tried to get alcohol training done early. So I got with the DAPA. We already did the training. We already did all that crap, right? Because we had PMS we were doing, and we were working on Saturday anyway because ATG was coming in the next week for freaking to do stuff. Because you remember we had the earthquake on Friday, and I'll never forget, bro. We get done the earthquake, and none of us really understand how bad it is, I don't think. We're just watching the ground move, and then all of a sudden the ship goes down, and so all of the gangways freaking invert, right? And so we all scatter, get down to DC Central, and everyone's all freaking out. And once all that goes away and they're done, I'm still doing my PMS checks on my H-F stations. I didn't get home till like 10 o'clock that night, 11 o'clock at night. My wife was pissed. Bro, Erica was so pissed. But I remember walking by your office later on that day, and the tsunami was happening, and you were watching it on the news in your office, and just being like, "Oh man, Gary, like look at that."
Yeah. We thought it was. Remember, a lot of people. We thought it was a boat going by.
Yeah,
there's a boat guy. There's a big ass boat, and
we had no clue, man.
Later went home, and then my wife said, "The building. We're in the same building. We're same tower.
We were on the 9th floor, and I was on the 7th floor."
was in number 92. It was going back and forth and all that, and of course that's when the news exploded and everything else, and
Crazy, man.
then people were evacuating out, and there was so much. The big thing was the uncertainty. Nobody really knew what was going on, right? Nobody really knew.
They kept changing the storyline, right? I
Storyline
remember.
was changing.
So the ash starts falling. Remember, the snow starts coming down. The ash.
Yeah, then the 4-star came over from PATCOM, right? He came over, put everybody at ease, but then everyone evacuated, and to kind of relieve the pressure cooker, they said, "Well, if you want to leave, you can leave." Okay,
Yep.
voluntarily, and they all left. And then I don't know if you knew this or not, but the principal of the school said there's not going to be any classes for the foreseeable future. All right, this was like on a Wednesday. Well, class resumed on a Monday when 2/3 of the base had emptied out, the kids and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So my son's like, "Yeah, Dad, there's like two kids in my class." You know? And there's dogs.
I'll never forget. We came into work the following Monday, and we did a GQ. We're doing a GQ, and Nate Jenlica. I hear this alarm going off that I never heard before.
Right.
And I'm like, we're at GQ. And I was like, "Hey, Nate, what is that alarm?" And Nate's like, "It's not good, Gary. It's not good." And that was the radiation alarm was going off.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the problem. They weren't sure, and that's why they made us get underway.
Remember when I had to go through all those?
Us, or it was coming from Fukushima.
Couldn't tell. Yeah.
And,
do you remember when they said, "How long will it take y'all to get underway?" And we were like 18 days. And they were like, "Y'all get underway on Sunday."
Yeah. I remember that. We had like one evap, right?
One screw, one engine.
Yeah. And then we got away with a lot of civilians who had various medical problems, medical issues. And I remember Doc saying, "Mike, I've never seen some of the issues on these guys before. Guys couldn't walk because of the diabetes and they're stinging of their feet, and then they're lining outside my office, and I'm signing this paperwork. I think it's like their NEO paperwork or their lean chip, whatever it was, and sending people wherever. They went to some went to Haleakala in Hawaii, a lot went back to the Philippines. They went all over the place, and then we're getting on the way. The big thing was we're getting on the way, and we don't know when we're coming back. And that's when the rumor started.
I remember.
We're not coming back. That's it. We're not coming back. They're going to shut down the base.
It was going to be like the Philippines, right? Like that Pinatubo thing.
Yeah. And people are like, "Oh, we may not come back. We may not be coming back. You know, they might just tell us don't come back, and they're going to shut down the base permanently." All kinds of rumors.
That was back when Facebook was really just starting to blow up, and like all the spouses were talking. Yeah. And it was, I remember doing production meetings underway because we kept the yard period going at sea.
I remember that quite clearly. It was a lot of uncertainty. We ended up in Sasebo, right?
We did. We went down to Sasebo for some Liberty. I remember with Reynard was the XO at the time, right? And we were doing like GQ, man overboard, GQ.
Yeah, Renard. He was
on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Because there was no air wing. It was just
that was a trip, yeah.
You remember that?
Then we went back. I remember telling my wife, remember that NEO pack we had to fill out?
Yeah.
Remember we always joke about it? Yeah, you'll never have to fill it out. No, we actually filled it out, remember?
Yeah.
And we were directed, if the base goes to evacuation, once it's filled out, leave it on your table in your kitchen and leave.
Yeah.
Scary stuff, you know, like,
it was.
Jesus. And I remember telling my wife, I said, just go south. You know, just go south and go to Sasebo. She had friends down there, but I mean, thank God it never came to that.
Well, we had no clue. And if you remember, we had just come back off like a 6-month patrol. Like we'd been gone for a long time, and then we did a half of a yard period. Then we get underway after the earthquake. Then we come back to finish the yard period on time to get underway again. It was tough.
Yeah, it was very challenging times, and Sasebo, where we go next, and we finally said, we're going back to Yokosuka, and then, then wow, yeah. A lot of people stateside they didn't understand any of that, you know. was in the news what we did, you know.
And it wasn't in the news. I will tell you that that crew, especially around that period of time, we did some really cool things, man, that I was very proud to be a part of because I think we could have done pretty much anything with that crew. And with
Yeah,
an aircraft carrier, it's like an army, right? You can just throw bodies at the problem, and we'll get our, and we'll take care of business, right? Do you remember? Do you remember when my sister died?
yes, I remember that. Yep, I do
And
remember
you
that.
were, I remember I was walking on board the airplane to come back from Carl Vinson, and I got the notification that she was on. Me and my wife were talking about this earlier, actually, and I got the notification she was on life support, and I had my wife contact you upstairs to get confirmation that I could walk away from that flight and go to Utah to take care of my family, and that was just, it was very cool that you were so close, like you were like 2 floors up
Right,
that we
right.
can get to you to verify I got permission to not come back home right away and go to do
Yeah,
that lead.
a lot of yeah, those Amcross messages came in, and I'd get that call, and I got to open them up, and there's a lot of wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, fathers passed, moms passed, girlfriends, friends, everything. Um, yeah, just reading a lot of them are heartbroken. Yeah, Chang and I used to shut the door. I'd clear the log room, and um, yeah, it's one thing I never had to do before. I never Amcross messages and deal with it.
But when
Very
you have that many people, you just have so much stuff going on. So when you got to the end of your time on George Washington, uh, so did you have a preference between Lund or Vergara? Did you have a favorite Chang during that period? Because I like them both for different things. Vergara was a pistol, right?
funny. He called me. He called me a few weeks ago.
Nice.
He's working down there in Charleston,
Yeah.
and well, after when Ryan Helbig's wife passed away,
Yeah.
I let him know about it, and he called me up. But yeah, I mean, I was with Vergara longer, like his whole tour, so I
Yeah.
got closer to him. But Lund was a good guy. Yeah, he was a good guy. I had no problems with Lund.
Yeah.
A very
I love
fine man.
Washington because he brought me to George Washington. He got me there. He's the one that hired me to come to
Right?
GW. By name guy, right? But
Nice guy.
he was. I love Vergara because he cared, man.
Oh
We
yeah,
we would have some knockdown drag. but I loved him. I remember that night my list control pump sucked up freaking those plastic wraps twice in 2 pumps in 2 nights. And Scott Shaw and I was down there freaking fixing those pumps. Scott was helping me do the pumps. Do you remember that? Oh my god! Like, what were
vaguely.
the odds of that happening?
Vaguely. Yeah, Scott's down there in Louisiana now.
Yeah, I got to get him on the show, man. Scott was a
I got
freaking
to bring got a real Scott in.
yeah. I got to get Scott on the show. He was a freaking lifesaver, bro. Him, Brandon Drake, both those guys really came in
Yeah,
clutch for me because they knew I was one what is that 1 foot person in the ass kicking
yeah,
contest. And I get my butt
yeah, you're deep in it.
kicked.
You're deep in it. But yeah, Scott was a character too.
Yeah,
We had a good time with Scott on there. But yeah, Vergara, Lund, I like both. Both were nuke background, right? Nuke EDOs,
yeah,
very intelligent, and uh, Vergara was very family oriented, just like Lund. Lund was a little religious too, right?
yep.
Yeah. So he cared about the family, and you could talk to him about either of them. You talk about anything. But
I remember we were going through InServ on the George Washington, and I just got my butt kicked on a check of some sort, right? And I'm laughing, and Commander Vergara's like, "What the hell are you laughing about, Senior Chief?" I was like, "I now know how to never let that happen again." And he was like, "That ain't funny." He was so pissed at me, but I
yeah,
was laughing because
that's
a lot
Vergara.
of that stuff I had never done before. I was learning a lot of that. That was me learning it, you know.
That's Gus. Yeah, he was a trip, man. I got other things to tell you about old Gus, but he didn't like people. He didn't like. I remember Trano. He came down. Maxie, what's up? Can I get a Red Bull off you? Yeah, go ahead, but I don't think you really need one. What's up? And he said, "Effing Trano. You know, I'm trying to get Lieutenant so-and-so out of here. And he'd be cool about it. You know, he could say, well, it's Sunday, I can't get a flight. But you know what he says to me basically? He said, you know what? F you. You're not going to do shit. He was so animated. It was like 10 o'clock at night. You know, we're all tired. And Scott Shaw and I, we're just laughing our asses off. And
Yeah.
yeah, he I remember I like, I think one of your, it was HNO. One of the sailors, I let her off early. I let her off early because she was got orders going back stateside. So I said, well, I spoke to detailer Chang, and the order should be here any day now.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let it go. I'm like, Chang, just let it go. Let it go. All right,
Yeah.
just let it go. No, I want orders first, and then we'll let her caught off.
Yeah.
I said, Chang, stop being a prick and just let her go. Right? So he goes, all right, Nashi, if you want to go, let her go, right? She didn't get orders for like a month and a half later. He got so pissed off. She was over there at
Patriots Landing.
for a month. I said, well, the detour said the orders were en route, you know?
I remember when dude, Sonny Gabbard was on the ship where he relieved me, and Chang still wouldn't let me go.
Oh, they wouldn't let me go, right? Because we're getting underway, and they're like, Mashi, what do you want to do with MM1 Vo? I said, well, he's got a family. Let him, just let him go. He doesn't need to get underway. All right. Well, you're getting underway though. I'm like, I guess I'm getting underway. I'll get underway. So I've been away for like 2 weeks. They flew me out of Guam.
Yeah.
I seen Bo. He's with MSC right now. I seen him at the food court over in Norfolk.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you left the George Washington. You went back to Virginia for 2-year orders, and you were at the Gage Cow place, right?
Yeah, right. So well, you were not far from where your office was at when you were over there.
Yeah, over there, Swath. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're Swans, that big brick building there next to the mini mart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right across the street from that parade ground.
Yeah, I hated that tour. Just, they gave me a choice. They're like, well, you'd be a 3M guy, a 3M coordinator on base or something, or you can go to NSSY. I'm like, hey, got 28 in NSY, get a government job, live happily ever after. I go there, right? And that building, it's more metrology, a lot of aviation test gear. So it's mostly
Right.
ATs, Good guys, great guys. They're there for their shore duty, And, but I had probably around 60 postpartum women are pregnant. Some that I had one guy that wanted to be a girl. I had one guy hit his head. It was totally. I'm not used to that, but I'm like, God damn it! I just came from a carrier, 300 plus people, and I got all this. And that. No, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to go home, man. And hey, let me see a must report. Where's so and so? Oh, she's at the Naval Hospital.
Yeah.
Well, when she gets back, tell her I want to see her. Hour later, Mashi, we can't lie to you. She's not at the Naval Hospital. Where's she at? She's in Arkansas. I'm like, what she's doing in Arkansas? Doing
Big lie.
There was a building full of issues, man. I was just like, make a urinalysis. They cannot make their urinalysis. Their life depended on it, And I was just like, God, this can't be happening, man. And so I finished that out. Got a lot of good people there. So some I still see.
Yeah.
And I left there, retired, went to Bahrain. And my buddy, well, now he's my lieutenant commander over in Sasebo, ESG. The 6 sailors, the 6 chiefs and senior chiefs, Master Chief that I worked with at ESG 7, we're all now together in Bahrain in the same office.
Wow, that's cool.
We're all there. So I walk in there, they know my personality. I know their personality. But a couple of guys are like, who the hell is this guy? Oh, this is Mike House, man. Yeah, he's good. We're good.
Yeah.
But it was very, our families knew each other,
So you took the family to
No, I went
Bahrain?
over there single. I went over there single, but our families, in fact, it was only Garrett. There was only one guy had the family there. The rest of us were all geo bachelors. But
And you
we knew our
that was just
families
getting
from
your
what?
was that just getting your foot in the door in the government world?
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Yep. I just wanted to get my foot in the door. I had jobs lined up. Um, the one was like some waterfront ops job, diesel, and I thought I had the job. And the guy was, I had an interview and everything went great. He called me up one night, Mike, sorry. I'm like, what happened? The customer, which would have been like the government, didn't want to fund the position, which happens a lot with contracting jobs.
Yeah.
So I said, I told my wife, I said, I'll go overseas, but I know you're not going to let me go overseas. Oh, no, you can go overseas. So she gave me a green light. And I did 18 months, rolled back here, and I got hired on with Marmac here with the government. Yeah. So the guy that actually hired me, everybody out there, always be good to your third classes, second classes, because when they get out of the Navy, they might be the one hiring you when you're a chief.
Yeah. True statement.
And that's what happened on the Wilbur, my the second class, and I was a chief. You know, fast forward to what was that, 2017? You know, we always check up on each other. Hey, how's it going? How's the family? Yeah, doing good. Hey, by the way, I got your resume here, Mike. The rest is history.
Yeah.
And I got him capped, so the wheels got along fine. So everyone out
Nice.
there listening, if you're a chief or a senior chief, be nice to that third or second class. When he gets out, he might be hiring you.
Hey, I tell these kids in my classroom all the time, like you never know who in this room is going to be the big money in Ocala someday. Don't make enemies in high school years. Have friendships, because you
Oh,
never know.
do not. Everyone out there, do not burn a bridge. You're going to need
Yeah.
them. Him or her, you're going to need them. Do not burn that bridge.
So Mike, as we get ready to wrap this thing up, right? You said attitude
Yep.
was a big takeaway I got from you earlier. Having served with you, I already know that's a big part of your thought process.
Right.
It's about attitude, and you always took everything I would say in stride, right?
Yeah.
You were always pretty even keeled. Uh, I mean, of course, I got to know you a little bit later in your career, but I have a feeling you were kind of the same way all the time. Besides having a strong mental attitude or a consistent attitude, do you have any other strong takeaways for people when it comes to consistent success in any organization?
No, you know what? Just maintain even strain, carry a good attitude, take the good with the bad, and you'll over succeed. Yeah, there's no
Okay.
doubt.
Okay. Because I'm going to ask you some more questions here. I got some little rapid fire questions and we're going to wrap this thing up. Okay.
Go ahead, shoot.
All right. Here we go. So you're on the ship. It's Friday night or Saturday night, depending upon your boat. Are you looking forward to pizza or the wings?
Oh, definitely pizza.
The pizza? Yeah. Remember on GW having those CPO fun nights?
Yeah.
That was a good time. We're hanging out on the front porch down there in the Cheese
Yeah,
Fest.
porch. Yeah, but
Yeah,
definitely.
you guys will always be down there talking smack on the front porch.
Hey, what about real quick? What about what's that called? The golden spoon. We had to rank the
Yeah,
meals.
I never got to do that, but you guys got to do that, Marty. You guys got to do all the Master Chiefs were down there. Do it's like Iron Chef competition.
That was awesome.
I did it once. I did do it once. That's true. I did do it once. Um, Marty, I'm trying to get Marty on here. I hit him up. I'm trying to get a hold of Marty. I think he'd be a great guest now.
He's over there in Binghamton, New York.
I know. I think he's another guy that had a great career, man. I'd love to get him on here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's another FDNF legend. You know what I'm saying? He did it.
Oh yeah. Him and Dell, they've been out here a long time.
Yeah.
Try to get Whitey too.
So I actually just talked to Whitey today via Facebook. So I'm gonna try to get him on here for sure.
Yeah, Whitey's good.
Okay, Mike. So back in the day, would you rather have the birthing cleaners or the working party?
Birthing cleaners or the working party? Yeah, I'm probably more of a working party guy.
Yeah, me too. But okay. All right.
Yeah.
movies, right? Movies, mid-watch conversation. Who was better, De Niro or Pacino?
Oh, Pacino, definitely. Pacino.
Pacino, definitely.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like Pacino. Scarface, yeah.
All right. Looking back throughout your career, Mike, what was your favorite duty station?
Favorite, either shore duty or
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. Oh, definitely Yokosuka. Uh,
Yokosuka?
yeah, my wife's job, my heart is still there. I haven't. I left there in 13 from the GW. I never went back yet. My wife has a couple times for her family. We'll get back there together one of these days.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Me and my wife are going to travel there too. I lived in Japan three different times throughout my 25 years in the Navy, and I love Japan, man. I love the people. I loved everything about it.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of
I will tell you the mission. I love the mission.
yeah. The mission was outstanding. The op tempo, you
Yep.
know. I did 19 years altogether. I told my wife, she'll watch Japanese YouTube. I'm like, you never took me there. What about this place? Believe it or not, there's a lot of things I just didn't do. I just did
No, because we were underway.
underway, gone, just didn't do it.
I used to tell my wife that she lived in Japan. I visited on the weekends. We
That's it.
were busy. All right. Looking back on your career, what was your favorite Liberty port?
Favorite Liberty port.
Yeah.
Wow, all well, I kind of it's kind of split in a way. I tell people this. I mean, for the partying when you're young, yeah, you got the Philippines and Thailand when the Philippines was open, and Hong Kong's a great time, Singapore, but
And Hong
my
Kong
first,
back when the British had it before it
yeah,
became Chinese.
yes, great times out there. But
Yeah.
then for maybe less partying, but more like historical feature, I guess. My first 4 years I went to Rome and I sat on a papal visit, listened to Pope John Paul, uh,
Yeah.
sit down and listen to the five languages. I fell asleep though, but there were five. I just slept through a couple. We were there for like 2.5 hours, and the Vatican, and taking a train to Leaning Tower, Pisa, and Ancona, Italy, Genoa, Italy, and Israel. All right, going to Nazareth and Bethlehem and all that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a once in a lifetime
That's huge.
experience, and to this day I haven't forgot it.
Um, that is a significant difference for the East Coast guys versus the West Coast
Yeah,
F Team F guys. We get a lot of culture out there in our area, but nothing like the Med,
no,
nothing like Europe.
no.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
fuel.
Looking back on your career, what was your hardest ever watch qualification?
Oh, the hardest. Let's see, hardest watch. Probably, uh, probably on my first ship, I was a throttleman, and that took some time. I mean, EL's hard too, but that when you're up for EL, you're more seasoned.
Yeah.
It's just memorizing. But a throttleman on my first ship, I thought was hard.
Okay. I
Yeah.
get that. I think I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you got the chance to go again, active duty for a billet, would you want to go overseas or stateside?
If I had to go overseas
Yeah.
now, or if I could magically make myself 18 again.
Right. If you were going to be and you're magically 18 again, and you're going to go back to sea or go back to the Navy, would you want to do an overseas tour or a stateside tour?
Oh, overseas. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, favorite movie trilogy? What you got?
I'm a Rocky guy, man. I love the Rocky trilogies. Star Wars is up there. I
Love
guess
it.
like most people.
Okay. Well, I have that question because those conversations we would have on the mid watch, man. We would just argue about the dumbest things, and that was one of the conversations we'd always get into. We'd argue about movies or whatever. Um, okay, Mike, would you rather be independent or on a team?
I'm a team guy. I don't work very good by myself.
Okay, you're a team guy.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have a personal leadership philosophy?
Um, Authoritarian. Get it done.
Authoritarian.
Just get it done.
Get it done. Yeah. I used to tell the sailors on the George Washington, hey, man, this is a dictatorship. It's not a democracy. Don't get it confused. Get it done. All right. So we have deck plate leadership, institutional and technical expertise, professionalism, character, loyalty, active communication, sense of heritage, right? Out of those principles from the Chiefs mess, which one is your favorite?
Probably heritage, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I remember growing up how cool sailors were. They were tough, man. Like sailors were tough. Now you got a bunch of people running around looking like a bunch of weirdos. But when I was a kid, sailors were freaking tough, bro.
Yeah. Well,
The sailors were known.
what I tell people, right, is the military, the Navy, is a direct reflection of American society. In the military, you're in a bubble, and you're thinking everything's changing inside. Well, it's actually changing outside, bringing it in. So society's changed, right? You want to say society was tougher 30 years ago? You can make that argument in some ways. More politically correct now. Different social programs we have today that we didn't have back then. You can make that argument too.
It just wasn't as many options, right? I mean, there's just so many freaking choices in today's society that it can be overwhelming for people. When I was younger, it was there was not a lot of choices. And so you didn't have to overthink things.
No. Very limited your choices, right?
Yeah. Okay, Mike, would you rather lead or follow?
I'd definitely rather lead. Growing up, I was a complete follower. I'll just do whatever you tell me to do.
Okay.
After a while, I just rather lead. It's just easier.
Okay.
But you can make that argument too. It's easier to follow. So
I think that the leaders that choose to follow, that right there is a skill. And it's something that as sailors or as military members, we have to have it because everybody's got a boss, right? We've all got somebody, right? But if you can learn how to play your position to the best of your ability, you're going to become so valuable to your team.
You got to be able to lead and be led. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You got to be coachable. Yeah. All right, Mike, last question, and we're going to wrap this thing up. Do you have any saved rounds or alibis?
No, man, I'll tell you what, you're right. This is a lot of fun.
It's fun, right? It really is, man.
There's nothing hard about it.
Nah, it's just it's looking back on your career.
Who'd you have the other night?
Rory?
Who?
Was it Rory Bacon?
Roy Bacon, yeah, Big Roy, yeah. Roy and Roy was always a great guy on board, always a great attitude, love him to death. I know you're trying to recruit Sean, that's good. Sean's a good one. If you can get Marty, they'll be selling tickets to that one.
I would love to get Marty. I reached out to Sean Bromstead. I'm trying to get him.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of people, man. I went to Ty Giles' retirement ceremony the other day. It was my birthday like 2 days ago, and like literally like a couple hundred people reached out to me. I don't know. It's been years since that many people told me happy birthday. But I was like, hey, I got a podcast. Hey, because number one, my students, they listen, they watch this more than anything. Right. And I love for my students to see that I'm I'm the same with them as I am with my shipmates. Right. And that's one. Then number two, I like to hear them to hear these stories because it reinforces what we talk about in the classroom. Yeah. Because I tell them a lot of these sea stories as I'm connecting it to leadership or citizenship development or whatever the curriculum is, because that's the value to having us as teachers by just another teacher, right? We bring all this. And then it's a chance to share our culture, our stories with the world and whoever's interested, right? Who knows who's going to be interested, but I know our shipmates will be, right? I know the people who are on the ship with you, with me. So, don't be afraid. Jump on the podcast. It's a good time.
Now, best of luck to you, Gary. You're doing some great work here, man.
I appreciate it.
Very special. Keep it going, dude.
I will try to. I will keep it going and keep an eye on me, bro. Let me know if you ever have any input or feedback, and we'll do a round 2.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, brother. Y'all have a good night out there. Bye.
Peace out.
Peace.
And I know I was born for this. I know this. Don't care for the critics, my words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know